last week of the regular season. Sun fan bases rejoice. Probably you.
Yeah.
You're just like, thank God it's almost over. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the excitement begins for some. Impending doom for others, like myself. Green Bay's probably locked into the 7 seed, and we're probably going to Philly in the first round. So it's probably over. The dream of a Super Bowl, I don't think is likely to happen.
Well, 2010, you started in Philly too, so.
Yeah, but I did this though. Okay, so you're gonna have to play Philly, who's probably a 13-win team at worst. You know, they could win this week and be 14 wins. This would be the toughest road to the Super Bowl pretty much in history because they'd have to win at Philly. Then they'd automatically have to go to the 1 seed the following week, who would have a bye, and that'd be the winner of Minnesota-Detroit this week, which would be a 15-win team. And then you're probably going to play at least an 11-win team because it's probably not going to be Tampa in the NFC Championship.
Yeah.
It's probably like the Rams, and you're going to have to go on the road. Like the NFC Championship game, in theory, would be the easiest game to get to the Super Bowl. But I just last week I didn't realize how devastating that game actually would be to their chances.
Yeah, I didn't realize it was as devastating either until afterwards.
For whatever reason, I guess I didn't think that Washington would have the tiebreaker over them, but I should have figured because all of Green Bay's losses have come in conference.
Yeah.
It kind of sucks because we probably have the best 4 losses in NFL history in one season, like combined record-wise.
Yeah.
Like literally every team on that list is at least going to win 13. Like 13 wins is usually enough to get you a number 1 seed in your conference. And there's 3 teams that are going to do it in the NFC. And there's 2 teams that have 14 wins at least. And there's 1 team that's going to have 15. And 2 14-win teams in one division is insanity. That's just crazy.
Yeah. Probably never see it again.
Yeah. So it's been quite the year in the NFL. Let's break down the playoff picture for a second. I think we got some results that we were pretty happy about. Like we're really that Cincinnati game on Saturday. I think, you know, we were both pretty happy to see that because that at least made the AFC a little more interesting. So right now, Kansas City's locked into the 1 seed. We'll start with the AFC, I guess. Kansas City's locked into the 1. They have nothing to play for. We'll see them in a couple weeks hosting the lowest seeded team in the divisional round. Buffalo is pretty much also locked into the 2 seed. They have nothing to play for this weekend. They're likely going to play whoever makes it out of the scrum between Miami, Cincinnati, and Denver. Most likely Denver at this point because the Chiefs are resting their starters, but who knows? The Bills actually blew a playoff chance, I think I want to say 2004.
Yeah, no, not the Bills won't play them.
The Bills will play the Broncos.
No, because the Broncos will be the 7 seed.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, though. The Bills are the 2.
Yeah, so the Bills. Oh, sorry. Yeah, no, I was thinking of the divisional round. Sorry.
No, in the opening round, the 2 seed will play the 7. Yeah. So right now, the Broncos right here are listed as the 7 seed. And then the Dolphins and Bengals are also in contention. The Ravens pretty much locked into the 3 seed with, the win over Houston last weekend. The Texans locked into the 4. So really all 4 division winners are locked into their seeds. So the AFC is not super interesting regarding like teams trying to get the 3 versus the 4, the 2 versus the 3. Really, if you think about it, though, like the 1 versus the 2 is the biggest difference because you get a bye. But the difference between the 2 and the 3 is still bigger than the difference between the 3 and the 4.
Yeah, right.
Because you're still playing on the road, most likely.
In the divisional round.
Yeah. You're actually pretty much, I guess technically if the 2 and the 3 lost in the wild card round, the 4 could host, but it's never happened before. And then Pittsburgh is, I could see them maybe dropping to the 6. They definitely probably play their starters, I think, because they probably want to go to Houston versus going to Baltimore.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Chargers Ravens would be really fun in the wild card round because that would be a hardball ball. Any thoughts on the AFC?
No, it's just as we've been saying all year, pretty boring, really. Obviously, the 7th seed will be interesting, but the 7th seed might also be decided by the time the Broncos kick off. The Broncos might actually have nothing to play for themselves.
Yeah, all the Broncos need, I think, is a tie to get in.
Yeah, well, they need, if they both lost or if they both tied, but Miami plays early on Sunday. Yeah. So Denver could know that they're in the, I think Denver's playing at 3, aren't they?
Because Cincinnati plays Saturday.
Yeah, Cincinnati plays Saturday.
So we'll know the result of that. So Denver, like you said, could pretty much know. Like if Pittsburgh, that's not going to be an easy game for Cincinnati because I think Pittsburgh will play their guys.
Yeah.
And then Miami is.
They already beat Cincinnati.
But Miami going. I think
that was their last win, actually.
Yeah, it's the Jets. They should probably win, but in the case they don't win, I agree. Like you said, I mean that Broncos game might actually not mean anything. By the time the kickoff happens, but if one of those teams win, the Dolphins or the Bengals,
it's unlikely that the Dolphins lose. So
then that 4:30 window becomes a little more interesting, just because the Broncos will have to execute and actually win. Which I don't know. Like karma says, you shouldn't really get to lose 3 straight games to finish the season and back your way into the playoffs. Like I think if you're Denver, I want to see them have to win the game.
Yeah, you want to go in with some, and they'd probably. Well, they'd probably play their starters for the first 3 quarters, I'd say.
Yeah. And then in the NFC, one available playoff spot, a lot more up for grab at the top because the Lions and Vikings will break that game down in a little bit. The winner of that game is the 1. The loser of the game is the 5. So that's an absolutely huge difference because one is getting a bye week and a home game in the divisional round. The other is starting on the road. At whoever wins the NFC South on wild card weekend. Philadelphia pretty much locked into the 2. They're not playing any of their guys. Saquon Barkley is going to be sitting out, which saves Eric Dickerson's rushing record. Because if Saquon played in that game, I'm pretty sure he would break he needs like 100-something yards, I think, to get that record.
Yeah, 107, I think, or something like that.
But to be fair, in my opinion, it's not fair to Dickerson if Saquon had broken in 18.
Yeah,
games.
No.
Just like OJ's 2,000 yards was probably still the most impressive rushing performance in a single season because he did it in 14 games. So,
yeah.
You have the Rams in the 3 seed, pretty much locked into that spot. I don't think they have much to play for because I think Tampa, I guess, could.
Tampa beat the Rams, I thought. Or no,
so the Rams, the Rams will need to play their starters, if they care about seeding. And I think you probably want to be the 3 because you definitely don't want to have to play the Lions or Vikings.
Yeah,
in the wild card round. I think the 4 seed is not where you want to be right now.
And if you win the divisional round, you don't have to go to Detroit.
That's a good point. You're
round.
Yeah, you're probably going to Philly, or you're probably going to Philly,
or you host
in divisional, or if the Packers were to beat them in wild card weekend, you're hosting. Let's see, and then the 5, it's kind of up for grabs, like we said. But no one wants the 5 right now because it's either the loser of Detroit, Minnesota, like we mentioned, and then the Commanders and Packers both have something to play for this week because I think there's a huge difference. I would much rather have to go to Los Angeles than going to Philly wild card weekend. Yes, like you mentioned, Green Bay has won in Philadelphia in the playoffs, but I don't know. I think this Philly team is much better than that 2010 version. And I'm not sure the 2024 Packers are better than the 2010 Packers either. So I want no part of that. So I'm going to be rooting hard for ironically 2010 Packers coach Mike McCarthy to pull out a win against the Commanders this weekend. And then Green Bay is in the 7. There's no wild card spots up for grabs. Tampa is in with a win against New Orleans, which looks pretty likely at this point. And then Atlanta is in with a Tampa loss and a win against Carolina. So that's the playoff picture. Anything you want to add for the NFC?
No, well, obviously we'll talk about Detroit, Minnesota later, but that's really the only. I think Atlanta screwed the pooch the other night on any chance they had. So
it sucks. I mean, if they just got within 5-10 more yards in field goal range, they win.
But the game. They used their timeout with 30 seconds left. One of the 2 they had remaining.
Yeah, I will say I'm very impressed with Penix. I think he'll be really good. I'm still not sold completely on Raheem Morris as a coach, but we'll see. You ready to break down the games?
Yeah.
You okay? You sick?
Yeah, I've been sick for a week.
Same. I was sick I started getting sick on Christmas.
I got sick last Friday night, and I've been sick ever since. Just got antibiotics today.
Oh, so it got that serious? Wow.
Yeah.
Awesome.
3 antibiotics.
Ooh, that's rough. We'll start off. So this game, like I mentioned, pretty much means nothing, which is why it's going to be on Saturday. I was a little surprised they moved this game to Saturday because it's like, I don't really understand. Cleveland's season, they're just waiting for it to be over. Baltimore, like I said, they can't really move up on Buffalo, but they can't move down against Houston. So this is a game Lamar Jackson won't be playing in, most likely. Or
no.
If the Ravens are smart, they're not going to play Derrick Henry or Lamar Jackson. I mean, I don't want to spend too much time on this. I'll take the Browns, actually, just because I take that back. If Dorian Thompson-Robinson's the starting quarterback, I'll still take the Ravens.
No, it's who's starting this week?
It's not Jameis because he's hurt.
No, they're starting somebody else. Bailey Zappi. Bailey Zappi is starting.
Bailey Zappi actually had one of his best career performances against Cleveland a couple of years ago.
That's probably why they're starting him.
I mean, who the hell knows? And honestly, who the hell cares? I ain't watching this crap. Like,
no,
on Saturday. This game, I encourage somebody else. Like, if you're watching this game and you're not a Ravens or Browns fan, like, go do some yard work or get something around the house. Like, don't do this. Like, ugh.
Take down the Christmas decorations.
And this game is another reason why you don't play your fantasy championships on the last week of the season. But I guess I'm taking the Ravens, I guess. What do you think?
Yeah, I'll take the Ravens by a field goal.
Yeah, I'll do the same. Who cares? This game's interesting, so we'll talk about this a little bit more. Like I mentioned earlier, Pittsburgh could benefit from a win because they do not want to drop down to the 6th seed and have to go to Baltimore, who will be pretty much well rested for that opening round playoff game.
Yeah.
So I don't think. Yeah, I don't. Can Pittsburgh win the division, or is it that over?
No, I think Baltimore won the division last week.
Okay, yeah, that's what
on Christmas. If that, I think so.
Yeah, because did the Ravens win? We should know that. We've both been sick, so.
Ravens, AFC North.
It's not. It's not up for grabs.
So they have.
It's still.
They're still fighting for it. So yeah, actually,
okay, so that Ravens game means something then.
Yeah.
So okay, I'm going Ravens by 14 in that game.
Yeah.
Wow, we came unprepared.
Yeah. But even then, like they're probably going to be in a position where they'll probably rest their starters in the fourth quarter. I can't imagine.
You never know, because remember, Cleveland beat them.
They did. So
Baltimore, and like the one thing they haven't done, they haven't really played in the division all that well because they do have a loss at Pittsburgh. They swept Cincinnati, but like both games they could have easily lost, and then they lost to Cleveland. So, but I think I'll take Baltimore by 2 touchdowns in this game, they clinched the AFC North. Which, now that we say this, I guess, yeah, it's smart by the NFL to make the Ravens play first, because that way you make them play their starters.
Yeah, they have to have something to play for.
Yeah, because if the Steelers had lost, the Ravens would have just set everybody.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So the NFL did right, I guess. So that our apologies for that. We were unprepared for that. I for whatever reason I thought Baltimore had clinched the AFC North already. So going back to Pittsburgh, Cincinnati. I want Cincinnati to win this really badly for the sake of Sunday's games.
Yeah.
Like I mentioned, I really don't want Denver to have nothing to play for and just them back their way into a playoff spot. I want them to earn it. And I want Miami to have something to play for on Sunday as well.
Right.
But Miami's, I guess,
they'll have something to play for anyways. But
yeah, Miami doesn't necessarily care as much about this game.
No,
because all they need is a Denver loss.
Yes.
So I would say, I like Cincinnati's offense, but this is probably the one defense on paper that could slow them down. But Pittsburgh's defense hasn't been as good the last month or so. They've really struggled against good teams. If you go back and look, against Baltimore a couple weeks ago, Kansas City last week, Philly.
They've lost by 2 scores in 3 straight weeks.
I think that trend continues. I don't think they lose by 2 scores, but I think their defensive trending down continues, I guess. And I'll take the Bengals by a touchdown, 30-23. I think Joe Burrow is playing at an MVP level. That passing game is just outstanding. Higgins is earning his money, like just playing out of his mind.
I seen somebody say there recently, is Chase Brown going to be able to play on Sunday?
I would think so. Let me look at the
Bengals I'd say he'd have to be dead to not play, I'd imagine.
Yeah. It's also stupid there's 18 games. I mean, I feel like these guys playing 8 or 17 games is just craziness. I mean, it is. The Bengals have not released. I don't see. There's nothing on their website.
Weird.
It's Pittsburgh.
Yeah, and it's 2 days till game time.
Yeah. It has to be.
Yeah.
Chase Brown did not participate in any practices, and he's questionable. That's usually a bad sign.
He's got to do something tomorrow, otherwise.
Yeah, well, they'll have they'll
have a walkthrough tomorrow.
Yeah, I think it'll be more
a game time decision.
Like they got to test.
At best, he's going to be limited, I'd imagine.
Yeah, it's an ankle.
So that does hurt Cincinnati in some ways, but
they got your guy Khalil Herbert.
They do, yeah, and he made some nice runs to set them up, like on 3 different occasions late in the game the other night.
Yeah.
Yeah, I seen somebody say on Twitter the other day, and it's really true, that for a few years there, Mahomes was on a tier by himself. And it's not so much that Mahomes has come down, but the likes of Burrow, Jackson, and Allen have now entered the same tier as Mahomes. And maybe he has come down a little bit to make that gap a little bit shorter for them.
Yeah.
But the 4 best quarterbacks in the league by far are in the AFC. And Burrow is one of them. Burrow, I think, is as we said last week, if he played on a better team, he'd be an MVP at this point.
You know who Burrow's career is mirroring? Who went to the Super Bowl in his second season and never went back?
Oh.
One of the greatest passers in NFL history.
What? Oh, Marino. Yeah. Wow.
I kind of see that.
That's a really good comparison.
Yeah. And that's a huge compliment to Burrow, but that's also kind of an indictment on how I feel like Cincinnati,
how the rest of the team is built.
Yeah.
That's really true. I think the Bengals keep it going this week. I think Burrow is, and as you said, just like I said last week about the Steelers and the Chiefs, two teams heading in opposite directions. The Steelers are playing a lot like we kind of expected them to play from the beginning of the year, where when they were like 10-3, it was kind of like, oof, this is unusual that they're not unusual for the Steelers, but this is surprising for this group of guys to be this good. I think Pittsburgh's going to play better than they have because even when Baltimore wins against Cleveland, they'll know that the division's not in arms race anymore. But they're not going to want to go in losers of 4 straight. So I'm going to go with Cincinnati. I'm going to have them win by a field goal, 27-24.
Yeah, and then Pittsburgh will be the team that everybody's not picking in the wild card round, and then they play Baltimore like down to the last second and outplay them the entire game, and maybe we'll see if they win. Because like that, I feel like that happens a lot, where a team that backs their way into the playoffs and no one likes, like the Rams kind of did. I'm not saying the Steelers won the Super Bowl, but the Rams did that in 21, and they actually won the Super Bowl. That is one thing I think is so very overrated. Like once the season ends, it just kind of like
everybody starts back to zero.
Yeah, 2015 Packers, like I thought were like that kind of team. Like they went into Washington and they were not favored to win. They were really playing horrible football at that point.
Yeah,
and they just crushed Washington in the wild card round. They just killed the Redskins, and then they should have beat Arizona. And I don't think they beat Carolina though.
Yeah, it would have been hard to beat Carolina, but no. I
just pictured Demarius Randall trying to cover Ted Ginn and like us trying to stop Cam. Now Carolina would have beat us by 35.
They won that game by 39 or something like that.
Yeah, Arizona
49-10 or something. Yeah,
it was payback, a revenge game for 08. Next game, speaking of the Panthers, this is not as good of a team, obviously. Carolina's terrible this year. They're at Atlanta, so Atlanta needs to get in to salvage a chance. Or I guess Atlanta needs to win to salvage a chance to get into the playoffs. So they need a win and a Tampa loss against the Saints. I'm going to take Atlanta here, but I'm not feeling all that comfortable. Like part of me thinks that Atlanta is going to blow it anyway, and the Panthers pull out an upset. But the Panthers, as much as everybody's saying like they're playing better, like last 2 weeks they've been blown out. So I don't know if it's actually that improved of a team.
They had a nice little stretch there after Thanksgiving, and
their passing game's improved, and I think that's what people are latching on to. Like Bryce Young is playing better.
Yeah,
their defense is still awful. I'll be watching this game more to see like if Penix like has a big game. I want to see him like blow up and play really well. This is the matchup to do it in, but I don't think that all happens all the way. I'll take the Falcons 27-21 in a closer game than people think.
I'm going to take Atlanta 21-17. I think they're going to struggle. I'm going to say that they're going to get off to a slow start. And they'll get spurred on when they see Tampa winning, and that they're going to feel like that they need to pick it up, and it'll be too little too late, I think.
Yeah, this will be a scoreboard watching kind of game because Tampa and New Orleans kick off at the same time. And that'll be kind of the thing to watch for in the early NFC South race. Like I said, I'm a big Cowboys fan this weekend. And I guess this is another kind of thing to watch. If you're, a Green Bay fan or a Washington fan, you're watching the other, if you're a Washington fan, you're watching Green Bay, Chicago along with your own game, and vice versa if you're a Packers fan against Chicago. I think, this Washington team did lose to Cooper Rush.
Yeah.
This Dallas team about a month ago. I am going to take Dallas in this game, actually. I'm going to take them 28-27, and I'm just doing that out of pure hopium because I don't want to go to Philly, and I'm trying to facilitate it into the universe.
Speak it into the existence.
Watch Dallas win, and then we lose to you. I love how you just laughed at that idea.
Never happened.
Yeah. The Bears are the worst team in the football right now, in my opinion. Yeah. I think so. They're playing like it. We don't speak about them though.
Yeah. I think Washington is going to have a harder game than they're hoping. I think also the fact that they haven't beaten a team with a winning record. I think they've only beaten one team with a winning record or something like that this year. I know obviously Dallas doesn't have it, and Dallas had a really bad loss there the other day. But I think with kind of the scoreboard, I think they'll also, even though they control their own destiny, they'll be keeping an eye on the Green Bay game. And, for a team, not a young team, because they're not young, they're pretty experienced in a lot of positions. But I think a team that's inexperienced at big games like this, even though last week was a big game, you might say, I think they're going to get a little bit similar to kind of Atlanta, maybe get off to a slow start, but I think they're going to end up winning anyways in the end.
Yeah.
I think I'll take them by a touchdown, 27-20.
Okay.
34-10.
I think it'll be one of those games where the Packers step on their own toes, but still win the game. 24-14. Texans, Titans. This game means nothing. Houston can't move up in seeding. Give me the Titans just to ruin their draft position.
Yeah, I was thinking that the Titans will probably do something dumb like that. Yeah, I think the Titans will win too. The Texans will probably rest their starters because, they'll want to be as healthy as possible to give themselves the best chance of winning in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Momentum is not really a thing for them right now because they're just they're hoping for a fresh start in January, basically. So I think the Titans beat them 17-13.
Yeah. I'll take Titans as well, 20-17. Has there been a bigger winner though the last month than the Patriots? Just with the amount of teams that have kind of won.
Oh, I know. Yeah, they're
Jacksonville, Carolina.
It's really broke their way. Yeah.
Yep. And because they got their quarterback already, and if they end up with the one, they can either trade back or they can get a Travis Hunter kind of player, or was it Carter for Penn State? Maybe if they want a pass rusher or something like that. So they'll have some options for sure. Jacksonville, Indianapolis, another kind of meaningless game. I guess if you care about draft position, it could matter. Indianapolis could benefit in draft position only if somebody below them loses. So they would need San Francisco to beat Seattle, or who would play Seattle? Is that LA or excuse me? They would need the 49ers to beat Arizona, which is possible. But there's not really much.
Yeah, they could only move up one spot.
Jacksonville, you could care about draft order, but they would need Cleveland to beat Baltimore, which is unlikely. The Giants to beat Philly, which actually is possible because Philly is but I don't know who would have the tiebreaker in draft order if they had the same record. So I don't think there's much to care about in this game. This will be one of those you never actually saw a highlight of this game, but it happened on paper. The Bills at the Patriots. Bills can't move up in the standings. They can't move down in the playoff picture. I think this game means more for the Patriots than it does the Bills.
Yeah.
The Patriots need to lose this game to claim the number one pick, which I think that'd be the first time the Patriots had the first pick since they drafted Bledsoe, right?
Yeah, 1993.
Yeah.
Would have been, after the 92 season when they went 1-15.
Yeah, you haven't been alive since then. And that was I wasn't born yet either because that was April of 93 and I was born later that year. So the I think the Patriots. I think the Patriots do their business correctly. They lose this game, but it's ugly. I'm going to take the Bills 17-13, and every Patriots fan rejoices because things break the right way for Boston sports.
Yeah. No, yeah, it eventually will break their way if you wait long enough in Boston.
And does Travis Hunter end up as the number one pick for the Patriots? I guess that's that's who we maybe talk about.
Well, they're probably also in a position that they could probably trade the pick and still maybe end up with Travis Hunter.
If somebody falls in love with a quarterback or something.
Yeah, which always happens.
Yeah. Well, and we'll get into the draft later this year. But what's your take on this game?
If I was Buffalo, I'd be trying to lose this game if I were them. Just to
not hurt the Patriots.
Yeah, I mean, like Belichick would probably do the same thing if the roles reversed a few years back. To really, well, if it was the Jets, he would definitely try to do that. But we'll see if Mitch Trubisky can lead the Bills to a victory.
Yeah, this is one of the worst Week 18 slates I've ever seen.
Oh, it's terrible. I guess I'll go Buffalo because I can see New England really, when a team gets into that position where the number one pick is there, it's funny how hard they'll go. I mean, New England will start subbing out guys and, you know, running trick plays just that they know won't work. And
the only thing about the Patriots, like maybe trying to win, is just because like if Drake May has like his breakout game, like do you try to sabotage that?
Well, see, that's the thing. Yeah. You know, and then it's a battle of North Carolina quarterbacks.
Because if the Patriots were to win this game, they wouldn't just drop like down a spot. They could drop all the way to like 5, like or 4 or 5.
Well,
I don't even know
if they would drop to 4.
And if Carolina and the Jets and Jacksonville all lose, and the Raiders, Chicago, like I don't even know where they would get mixed in with those teams.
So the strength of schedule thing is even if you're like percentage points away from somebody, like you still need like 7 different results to go your way. So I think they'd be the lowest they can. I think it's either 1 or 4 that they're going to end up at.
Okay, so the Patriots are locked into the top 4.
Yes, yeah, they can't. I don't think they can go any lower unless Jacksonville, everything breaks their way and their strength of schedule. They would need a bunch of the teams that they played to lose.
I think that's so. If I'm Chicago, I'm crying BS over that. That is crap. You're having a 4-12 season and you're 9th.
Yeah, because their strength of schedule.
They're picking the same slot they did last year, and this Bears team had a completely different outlook in Week 18, like going into Week 18 last year than they did this year.
They have the hardest strength of schedule in the NFL right now.
Yeah, well, so it's the division they play in.
Yeah, the division they play in.
11 wins. So yeah, but yeah, what a mess. And the bottom of the league is awful. Like the fact that there are 9 teams that are 4-12 or worse, and there are 10 teams with 5 or less wins. That's awful. A third of the league is really, really bad. Giants, Eagles, same thing. I mean, I think you probably care more about this game about draft position. Shedeur Sanders will probably be the only person that watches this game. Maybe Cam Ward. I don't know. Whatever your favorite quarterback is. And then we'll be keeping an eye on, Daboll. Like, I assume he's going to get fired after this game, but
yeah.
That'll be a big conversation, that Giants job opening up. Who takes that? Who wants to? That's one of the bigger messes in football. Give me the. And the thing is, I think Daboll actually is going to completely sabotage their efforts, and they're going to.
Oh, he should.
And this
Drew Lock even kind of sabotaged their efforts last week.
Yeah, and see if the Giants win. Yeah, they would. If the Giants win this game, they're dropping all the way to 8. Oh man, that would really sabotage. And depending on how things break, I mean, they're right close to Chicago. So in terms of strength of schedule, so the Giants could maybe even drop to 9.
Yeah, it's possible.
Yeah, I'm taking the Giants here, 24-17.
I'm going to take the Eagles just for the fact that Kenny Pickett did win a game for them last week.
So did Tanner McKee, technically.
And Tanner McKee, technically, yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm going to take the Eagles, although he was playing with their starters. So that's a little bit different, I guess. But yeah, why not? I'd say the Giants pull it off anyways. And
hey, first round pick, first round wide receiver is going to be playing in this game. Jahan Dotson.
Yeah.
Jahan Dotson's going to get a lot of playing time here. And Kenny Gainwell.
I'm going to go 23-20 Giants.
Yeah. Oh, what would be perfect is like Dayball goes for it. Like they score a touchdown at the end of the game and they can pick an extra point. That would tie it. And he goes for it and they make it. And you just see Dayball going like, and like every Giants fan is just like, yeah, I have a Giants fan that sits next to me at work. He's from New York. And he just I looked at him on Monday and he's just like, what are we doing? What are we doing? Like, cause he has that that Staten Island kind of accent. He goes, what are we doing?
Drew Lock had like the 6th best performance by a quarterback since EPA was invented.
Yeah. Yeah. What a mess. But I'm pulling for that. So I'm taking the Giants. You're taking the Eagles though. Which I
said the Giants.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you like the Eagles more in this game than I do.
Yeah. I just think that because of the way they played last week, but also
that was with
starters too. That's what made me change my mind.
When Devonta Smith is your 3rd best offensive player, pretty impressive.
Pretty nice.
Saints Bucks. This game means a lot, and this is probably the most interesting game of the 1 o'clock windows because a win clinches a playoff berth for the Bucks.
A 4th straight division title.
This is a team that they have struggled with the Saints historically, but this Saints team is just like I would say right now. I said the Bears are playing like the worst team in the NFL, but I think the Saints are up there too. Give me the Bucks 30-7. I think they win comfortably.
Yeah, I think the Bucks do win pretty easily myself. I'll go 31-13 Tampa.
Okay. Remember when the Saints team started 2-0?
And they had like the best DVOA of all time through 2 weeks.
Yeah, so the Saints are 3-11 since. I think it was Bill Simmons when I was listening to one of his pods, and he said that the Saints team reminded him of the 99 Rams. Just for reference, the 99 Rams went 13-3. This Saints team is 5-11 and about to lose their 12th game. And oh God, I was just like, don't do that.
Yeah, kiss of death.
Dennis Allen was the first coach fired, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Which I can't believe Doug Peterson's still coaching, by the way. We didn't mention that. He made it. He made it to the end.
Yeah, he somehow made it.
Yeah. Another issue, I guess the Bucks Saints version of the late window games. Not that the Chiefs are bad. The Chiefs are the best team record-wise in the NFL. But I guess second best technically because they are tied with the no, they're the best because they're 15-1. But they're not playing their starters. I think Denver's like a 14-point favorite. So Vegas assumes that nobody for the Kansas City Chiefs is playing in this game. I definitely think Kansas City covers this, but the Chiefs win.
Yeah.
I'll take the Broncos 21-14. And it doesn't feel great for the Broncos, but they do win the game. They clinch the 7th seed in the AFC.
Yeah, I think it's going to be an ugly game too for the Broncos. And
Kansas City has a reason to not want to win this game, by the way.
Oh yeah, they don't want to play Cincinnati.
Nope.
Well, I mean,
But they could knock Buffalo out.
Yeah, they could knock Buffalo out. Yeah, so.
But, I mean, they're not going to have to play Buffalo until the AFC Championship anyway.
Yeah, right.
And at that point, if Cincinnati were to get to the AFC Championship against you, that would not be great for you anyway.
Yeah.
It's going to be tough for the Chiefs anyway.
Kind of cool if it was a Buffalo-Cincinnati AFC Championship.
Yeah, I would love to see Cincinnati in the playoffs, but I don't think it happens. I think the road ends here in disappointing fashion. And we get I think a good story, an underrated story of how good the Broncos have been this year. They're not that much improved in terms of win-loss record. They're 9-7. They finished 8-9, 9-8 last year.
9-8 last year, I think. Yeah.
So they have potential to finish with the exact same record, but the feeling around this team is completely different.
Yeah. Well, they transformed. Vance Joseph really transformed that defense this year.
Yeah.
I mean, Denver will never want to see him go again.
Yeah.
But it's kind of surprising that he hasn't gotten any. His name hasn't been floated around in any head coaching interviews yet. Or obviously those haven't come out yet. But you know what I mean.
I think he'll get some. I think he can get some looks maybe.
Yeah.
Because he has experience. He
does. And he might be somebody that the second time around he figures it out, sort of a thing. But.
It is very strange. He's the defensive coordinator for the team that he was the head coach for.
Yes.
Like that's I've never seen that before.
No, I'm trying to think of if it has ever happened. I know guys have gone back to places that they were coordinators at before.
But like this soon after where he was a head coach, he's already.
Well, technically, didn't Joe Philbin? Oh, no, it was the other way around. He was an offensive coordinator.
He came back to Green Bay.
The interim coach.
Yeah, he was the interim. He was the interim coach when McCarthy got fired, but that was his second stint. He was never the head coach of the Packers, like in full. Yeah, I'll take Denver here, but I think the one interesting thing to me, like about last week's games, is what I was really surprised by is how Denver handled overtime.
Yeah.
They got really pass happy, like on some of their drives, and I'm thinking, why? Because remember, you benefit from a tie. All Denver had to do these last 3 weeks is basically tie one of these games. They don't even have to win. All they have to do is just have a better win percentage than Cincinnati or Miami.
Yeah. Well, even like Ross Tucker, who was the color commentator last Saturday, said something that I totally disagreed with. When they had like the 3rd and 9 on their last drive in overtime, he was like, no, I wouldn't get too aggressive here. And I was like, now would be the time to get aggressive because the first down
ends the game,
seals the tie.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because Cincinnati, I think they had no timeouts or one timeout left or something like that.
Yeah. You want to basically have to where Cincinnati.
You want the ball as the clock expires.
Yeah. Or if Cincinnati's getting the ball, they get the ball with like 45 seconds left, no timeouts, deep in the rotation.
At most. Yeah.
That's the worst scenario you want. Because like I mentioned, it is kind of like the only mismanagement of that wasn't that bad because I mean, granted, they tried to get the first down, they just didn't. But the worst handling ever was still Brandon Staley a few years ago. In that Week 18 game, it's just like a tie gets both of you in.
Yeah.
And then they he got too aggressive trying to win the game. I'm like, this is the one scenario I will not actually like say that, you know, and if it's week 5, go for the win. I'm all for that. But like when it's week 18 and you know a tie benefits you the most,
that's a win.
Just get in the playoffs. Like, and I think Denver wins here, but I was a little surprised somebody with the experience of Sean Payton, I think, made some mistakes in game management like that. Any other thoughts on that game before we?
Nah.
Okay. Chargers, Raiders. Chargers could move up to the 5 depending on the outcome of that Pittsburgh game on Saturday.
Yeah.
But I guess if the Steelers lose against Cincinnati, then if the Steelers win, then LA has nothing to play for.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah, if the Steelers lose, then the Chargers are probably going to play to win this game. because that would get them a trip to Houston instead of Baltimore.
They could surpass them in the standing because they couldn't tie them.
Yeah, and I think at this point, if San Diego played Houston in Houston, I think that'd be probably I'd say that's a pick 'em, or maybe even the Chargers are favored on the road.
I would assume the Chargers would be favored.
Yeah, that's a matchup that the Chargers should be wanting. So that's the other angle of that Pittsburgh game that you should be caring about. But I'll take the Chargers here. I'll take the Chargers if they have something to play for. I'll take Chargers by 10, 34 to, or I'll take Chargers by 17, 34 to 17 if they have something to play for. I will take the Raiders 24 to 17 if the Chargers have nothing to play for. Just because I think Antonio Pierce is going to pull the same thing Brian Daboll does.
Yeah. Try to ruin them.
Yep.
Is Mike Vrabel going to be the head coach in Vegas? That's what people have been saying. That's the guy that, because of his connection with Brady and
could be.
Yeah,
I could see that, but Vrabel will want a lot of control. And that's one thing Vrabel didn't do in Tennessee. He didn't really make personnel decisions. And who's going to do that? Is it going to be Telesco?
Yeah.
Is this? Granted, Telesco's only been on that job for a year, so I don't think he gets fired.
Playing against a team that fired him.
Yeah, for not doing a great job. But, the Raiders will be an interesting team this offseason. They have a lot in transition, and then you think Brady will have a lot of say in who the starting who they're going to pick in the draft.
Yeah.
Because they have to pick somebody. You can't go another year of Aiden O'Connell.
Oh gosh, no.
It would be funny if Derek Carr came back for a year.
I was thinking if Vrabel does go back there, you might just a similar situation that we were just talking about with Vance Joseph. He could bring Josh McDaniels as his offensive coordinator.
That's actually interesting. Yeah, it's too bad.
That's what I've heard. People have said that that would be his offensive coordinator is McDaniels, and I forget who they've said his defensive coordinator would be.
Yeah, and what's kind of silly too is when Vrabel got fired last year, it would have been a perfect time to hire him because
somebody said Matt Patricia would be his D coordinator. That's the group he's putting together. I think I read that somewhere.
It was weird though. Patricia at one point was a good defensive coordinator, and then after that Super Bowl against the Eagles, it just he has been awful ever since.
Yeah, well,
I shouldn't say great. I shouldn't say great. He was fine, but it's still mostly I think Belichick, because if you look at Steve Belichick's track record since being the guy, has a lot better success rate, I would say, than Patricia did. And the Detroit thing was a complete disaster. I still wish Patricia were in Detroit, but
it would be nice.
Yeah.
Or they didn't hire Dan Campbell.
Oh man. Yeah. I miss those days because we had Jeff Okudah going in the top 5. Yeah. Oh man. And now Detroit looks like I don't know if Detroit wins the Super Bowl though, because I think they're good enough. But we'll talk about Detroit, Minnesota here in a second. But yeah. So you think Chargers win this game if they need it? Raiders win this game if they don't?
Yeah, I was actually thinking the same score. Well, not same, but same point differential as you. If the Chargers need it, 7. I had them 27-10.
Yeah,
and I'll take the Raiders by 3 if not.
This could be one of the funniest NFL weekends of all time, though.
That's the only entertainment value that there's going to be.
Because bad teams screwing up their draft position is always a great time.
I was thinking earlier today, how many, because of all the meaningless games this week, how many announcers are going to use the phrase, "Now tell these guys this game doesn't mean anything." I could see I think the over/under is 2.5. I think there's going to be at least it doesn't mean a team wins the game. It just means that the Raiders, if they're, they come off the field after sacking, who's the backup quarterback for the Chargers?
Is it Easton Stick?
Easton Stick. They come off the field after stacking Easton Stick on 3rd down, and they're all jumping up and down. And whoever the color commentator goes, yeah, tell these guys this game doesn't mean anything. Look how excited the Raiders are.
Here's a good point, though, is even if this game means nothing for the Chargers, I can't see Harbaugh losing on purpose.
No, he wouldn't lose on purpose, but I think he'd take
he'll care.
Off throttle. Yeah.
He'll care. He's gonna coach Easton Stick. His life depends on
it.
Yeah. He's gonna be coaching him up. He might be playing catch in the huddle. Telling Quentin Johnson, you catch like this. Don't catch with your body. Catch with your hands. Give me your gloves. Speaking, I wanted to just ask you real quick, about Harbaugh. How did it feel for Michigan to bookend Alabama this year?
Oh, that was the one good sports thing that happened to me this year.
I was thinking there's an Alabama fan at work, and I was thinking about getting some custom bookends for his office. Michigan bookends, and I'll
27-20 on one and 19-13.
And I'll maybe put a Rose sticker on one and then a ReliaQuest sticker on the other.
I was thinking, my buddy actually texted me, and I was like, that's true. I don't know if has that ever happened in any sports league ever, that a team lost to one team on January 1st.
Not the day. That's crazy. That, because how often do you even play on those?
Well, yeah. I was thinking college football, certainly not. College football in the NFL, maybe.
There's sometimes where we don't even play. There's been weird scenarios where we don't even play a team but in our division, but once in a calendar year. We played Detroit once in 2021, because now with week 18,
it goes further into January. Yeah, I was thinking it might have happened in the NBA or the NHL.
Yeah, it could. Yeah, but even then, you have to match the teams up.
Yes.
And you have to beat them twice.
So I don't know if it's ever happened.
Yeah, and it can't happen in baseball because they're not.
Can't happen in baseball.
Yeah, yeah. The only thing I can think of that's kind of similar in terms of how freaky it is in 2012, the 49ers bookended our season, beat us week 1, beat us in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And then in 2013, beat us week 1, beat us in the playoffs.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. So in games wise, but within the calendar year would be.
Yeah, that's crazy though. Yeah. What an accomplishment. Just put a banner up, honestly.
And that was a very bad loss for Alabama. Michigan was resting their 4 best defensive players, and they didn't have a quarterback for the entire second half.
But Jalen Milroe going to the NFL. So we'll be breaking.
The Raiders will draft him.
Maybe if Gruden were still there.
Yeah.
Moving on to the next game, Seahawks Rams. I don't think this game means much.
That strength of victory thing came into play.
And McVay, I think he is a guy that takes his foot off the gas when he needs.
Yes, yeah, he.
Yeah. Well, last year he cost himself seating doing that. Excuse me, he won.
Oh, but the Rams do have something to play for. Because
they're the 3 seed.
Yes, but if they lose,
could they drop to the 4? Oh yeah, because Tampa.
Tampa has a better conference record than them.
So Tampa could be the 3 seed.
Tampa could end up as a 3 seed.
Okay. Yeah. So I feel like so this game's a normal game. I'll take the Rams, 24-20, close game.
Yeah. Now, if the Falcons win the South, then the Rams might take their foot off the pedal, but that's probably not going to happen.
But so we would know. The Rams will know if they can take
the Rams will know before kickoff.
And the only benefit they have is because the NFL couldn't schedule that in the 1 o'clock window because it's a West Coast game.
Yeah. And the Bucs' main competition is the Falcons, so they wouldn't move the Bucs game only till the 3 o'clock window.
Yeah, you can't put everything in the late window, unfortunately.
Right. Last year there was 7 games going on in the late window.
Yeah, that was fun because
that's my favorite when they split it up.
And last year, Green Bay had to win to get in.
Yeah,
and then Seattle, I think, or was it Seattle that needed us to lose? to get in, but we won, and then the Rams. See, the Rams won to bump themselves up a seed because if they had lost to the 49ers in that game last year, they sent themselves to Detroit. And I remember saying, like, I would, at that point last year, I was like, I'd much rather go to Dallas than Detroit. So I was really happy with that outcome because I was like, I don't want to go to Detroit and like play in that environment. The first home game in 30 years.
30 years, yeah.
Versus Dallas, who never wins home playoff games. So it worked out great for us. But yeah, we'll both take the Rams here. What did you say the score was?
I'll take them 31-21.
Dolphins Jets.
This game is in the late window.
It is, yes. Oh. But the Dolphins, and I think what they're doing is let me make sure that's Dolphins Jets. That's perfect because that way the Broncos won't know.
Yeah, the Broncos, they'll have to play. So
and the Dolphins will scoreboard watch this, assuming they can get a lead on the Jets.
Yeah,
I don't think that's as easy as said as. The Dolphins, they did break the cold weather streak, even though it was pretty warm in Cleveland last week.
Yeah.
But
Tua wasn't playing.
And Aaron Rodgers is playing for pride.
Yeah, and I also can see the Jets, like the Giants, destroying their fan bases off season and winning this game.
Aaron Rodgers has Aaron Rodgers has a 4-touchdown performance.
Yeah, vintage Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, and like it does the Sharyukin like little touchdown dance, and then him and Lazard are dapping each other up. Him and Adams, like they're taking pictures, and the Jets fans are just losing it. And did you see the quote that he said? Like Rodgers said, "I've never had this much fun playing football."
When did he say that?
Earlier this week. He's like, "This is like been I think he said it's like the greatest year of his life or something like that."
He's totally lost it. Did you know he had, by QBR standards, like one of the worst games of all time?
Yeah.
There's been somebody said there's 5,677 games in the QBR database, and he's like 5,767.
Neil, you know what I'm a little upset about though, watching this team play, is how if he hadn't torn his Achilles last year, what would our pick have been?
Ugh.
High.
It would have been what it is this year, probably.
Which would be this year it's just because the bottom of the league is so trash. They're 7th right now.
Yeah, but I think that's where they would be probably about
7th worst team in football. This team got worse with Rodgers. Like they would have improved.
Yeah, you could have had Jared Verse.
They could have had Zach Wilson. Like Zach Wilson would have got this team 7 wins.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Is like, and then it's kind of interesting. It's like, how bad is Zach Wilson? Do we actually know yet? It almost made me rethink a little bit. Like,
well, I think there's a lot of, I don't know, rethinking about how quarterbacks develop now. Especially
this situation is just
like Sam Darnold having the year he's having.
Yeah.
Sorry?
His career renaissance.
Yeah, his career renaissance. I know Geno Smith hasn't been that good this year, but he's still much better than he
That's
was
true.
Early on in his career.
These guys have made
teams. There's going to be an offensive coordinator or a head coach that pitches their GM this offseason because it's not a big quarterback draft, that they're going to say, hey, we can get this guy and we can build them up. Obviously their fan base won't be excited, but some guy is going to, there's always an offensive coordinator out there that thinks he's the one to unlock player X.
And I'm not a big supporter of like quarterbacks in the draft, like just pulling an Eli Manning and just saying, I'm not playing there. I would fully support Shedeur Sanders or Cam Ward saying I'm not playing for that franchise. Like, I think there's like almost enough of a track record to say no.
Yes.
Because like we've seen other franchises like struggle with drafting quarterbacks, but like they showed spurts and like have.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh. We got it to the hour mark.
Years. But like these guys don't actually burn them.
Oh.
So close.
You have two. I was gonna say you had two pictures in the screen there.
Yeah, we were so close.
And I was saying we got an hour in.
Yeah, I just got a PlayStation 2 or a PlayStation 5.
Oh, nice.
But my internet, like I have one of these like they're like Switch controllers basically, so I can play
that's what it looks like.
Yeah, but like the internet does that too on that. Like even when I'm in my living room, so I guess it's just my router. It just like freezes for a second and then comes back. But anyway, the Jets have just been a dumpster fire for really the last 15 years, and the only thing that would make this even better is if Rex Ryan were to take the job, and that would be amazing.
Yeah,
I don't know why the graphic just went away. That was
strange. Yeah, especially when it was up there.
Yeah. Anyway, moving on to the next game. This game means nothing. Give me the 49ers I'll take them by a touchdown, 27-20.
Yeah. 31-26 49ers.
Game of the week, game of the year.
Yeah. Probably the biggest regular season game in a long, long time.
I'm going to tell you this, and this is my take on this games to start with. I said it all year for like at least the first 2 months of the season. I thought Detroit was the best team in the NFL. And then I've kind of eased off that over the last month because I think they're an amazing offensive team, like one of the best teams in recent memory in that department. This Minnesota team, in my opinion, is the best team in the league right now.
Yeah. Yeah, Minnesota is.
They are complete. They do everything well. They're well coached. Offense, defense, special teams they're all like playing like top 10 units. They were pretty suffocating against our team. Like I like the way Green Bay like kind of showed some resolve and didn't quit, got back in the game. You know, at least forced Minnesota to get first downs at the end of the game. I think if you're a fan of a team in the NFC, you are hoping Detroit wins this game. I don't think you want to go to Minnesota. I don't think that would be very good. I think, but the thing is, the NFC loses here because in general, both places are going to be extremely hard to win in.
Yeah.
But I think Detroit and really all the AFC contenders are definitely pulling for Detroit, I think. Because I think you can move the ball at will on the defense.
Yeah.
Their pass rush is non-existent.
Yeah.
I like Josh Allen. We saw it just like 3 weeks ago. Would just have a field day. Same with Burrows. Same with Lamar Jackson, Mahomes, even. Which we barely talked about the Chiefs, but their offense is kind of playing pretty well.
Oh, I know. I've been saying it that they're trending upward.
Yeah, you know, it's weird to say a team that's 15-1 is trending upward.
Yeah, no, they're. Yeah. We'll talk about them in a couple weeks during the playoffs.
We're going to talk about them in a month.
Yeah, we're going to be talking about in a month and a half.
Yeah, who are they playing in the NFC?
Yeah. And right now it might be Minnesota.
Yeah, I agree.
You know, I think the funny thing is these two teams might rematch in 2 weeks.
See, I think the loser of this game loses next week. That's my take.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Oh, wow. Yeah. I think everything's on the line because losing this game would be just devastating. I think mentally, and I'm gonna assume Tampa wins and LA win. So I think if Atlanta becomes a 4 seed, I think the loser of this game will win. But especially if it's Detroit that loses, then
if it's Detroit, that would be.
Tampa will move the ball on them.
I mean, Detroit. To be pole position in the NFC for the entire year.
They're still number one.
Except if you count week 2 when they were 1-1. But I don't think you count from basically the end of September on. You were pole position.
Yeah.
And you end up having to play on the road wild card weekend.
Yeah.
It would be devastating.
Yeah. That being said, I'm going to take Detroit here because it's at home.
Something stupid, something crazy is going to happen.
34-31. I'm going with the NFC North championship score. That always seems to be like when there's an NFC North championship on the line. That feels like it's a high scoring game. Like when Green Bay Detroit played back in the mid 2010s, or when Minnesota played Green Bay in 2004. They were both 34-31 games.
Yeah.
It's going to be that kind of game where I think whoever has the ball last will score with a game-winning field goal. I'm going to take Detroit just there at home. It's a huge game. But like you said, I think anything crazy could happen. I'm so excited to watch this game. I hate both of these teams. I'm naturally supposed to. It's nothing against anybody. I'm a Green Bay fan. I don't want to see Minnesota or Detroit do well. But yeah, I'm gonna take the Lions by 3 here.
I'm actually gonna take the Vikings. I kind of feel the tide is flipping a little bit. I still think Detroit is probably the most dynamic offense in football, but as we said, that defense, if they're not biting kneecaps, quote unquote.
Where are they in DVOA defensively? They can't be high.
In the other window. They are I had it the other way. Shoot. Oops. DVOA, they
have to be in the late. They probably have to be in the low teens at this point.
Oh, actually, no, they're still 7th.
They have a lot of turnovers, I guess. They
have a lot of turnovers, and they do get sacks every so often, like on third downs, which is the most optimal time for a sack.
But their defense, I feel like the last 4 weeks, though, their defense can't be ranked high.
Well, let me look at their. I don't know if they do a weighted DVOA for defense because that might. Yeah. Yes, they do a weighted DVOA for defense, and by weighted DVOA standards, they're 14th. So basically, the 7th ranking is a lot of because of what they did for most of the season. The weighted DVOA is about how they've been recently, which compare that to Minnesota. Minnesota is their 3rd overall in defensive DVOA and their 6th in weighted DVOA. So basically, Minnesota, they're better than Detroit is right now, but their weighted DVOA is better than Detroit's been all season, if that makes any sense to people. But yeah, I think there's just something kind of magic about the Vikings, which is kind of weird to say. They do in some ways feel like that 2017 team that had a lot of magic, but this seems like such a better team than that team was. Like that team seemed like a lot of it was like hope and prayer stuff with Case Keenum. And, obviously they got to the NFC Championship and they got throttled by Philadelphia. But I think that there's going to be something that swings the game in Minnesota's favor late. Like Dan Campbell goes for it on 4th and 13 with a fake punt.
Yeah.
Or there's a personal foul call because the refs are going to protect Justin Jefferson. So if he gets any sort of defenseless hit
Kirby Joseph
by Kirby Joseph, there will be a penalty. So I just have a feeling something like that's going to happen to Detroit, and they're going to be sitting there stunned, thinking like, how the heck did this just? How do we have to go on the road next week? I'm going to take Minnesota. I'll take them by the same score as you, but flipped.
But and like you said, the loser of this game will feel stunned.
Yes.
And I think that's what's going to screw them going into next week. And I think the other thing is if Tampa's hosting Wild Card Weekend, just go ahead and pencil them in. They're the Monday night game.
Yes.
Every time.
Yeah. It was like 3 years in a row now.
Yeah, and like we saw with Philly last year. Philly had a really good record.
And actually too, that might be just the Monday night game because they'll want to give one of these teams an extra day of rest. Yeah, because it'll be a very emotional, hard-hitting game, you can imagine.
Yeah. I'm telling you, I think the loser of this game, like the winner of this game, probably going to the Super Bowl. The loser of this game, I think, will be eliminated by the time we talk in 2 weeks.
Wow. Yeah.
This to me is a playoff game.
Oh yeah.
And what's crazy is I think Green Bay has a better chance than the loser of this
It's essentially a wild card game.
Yeah. And because I just think the emotional letdown of going 14-3 and not even getting a home playoff game is just devastating. And what I'll finish up on is, as much as I hate both of these teams, like I mentioned that they're NFC North champions, just like in college football, we need to reevaluate the way we do seeding in the NFL, because there is no way that the loser of this game should be having to go on the road on Wild Card Weekend.
It's the same